Welcome to the EST Hangout.
This is the EST Hangout, and today's guests are...
This is the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer, Iwanyk, Gazzola, and Wil Fraser with us here today on the Hangout live on TuneIn, on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, on iHeart Radio, as well as those watching on YouTube. The empty chairs for Rob Tychkowski, who's in traffic. He's on his way here. And while we're waiting to get the show started, we hear that Dusty has 5 alarms that he sets for. Was it 5 for him?
Yeah.
Because that had to come at 3, I think.
Yeah.
I have 3.
Do you?
I have 3.
Yeah, you got to speak into a microphone.
That helps, doesn't it?
Yes. You have 3 alarms?
Yep. But they're like 5-minute increments, snooze set at 8 minutes, so it's like, wake up, idiot. Time to go.
3 different alarm devices?
No. 3 different alarms in
on your
5-minute
phone.
increments
Oh,
on my phone.
okey-dokey.
And then
All right.
snooze when I hit it is
What's the
8
point
minutes.
of the snooze if you hit it if it's 8 minutes
it
and the next
wedges-
alarm goes at 5 minutes?
Yeah, it wedges in there, so I can't get like back into a nice sleep. And it's like, hey, you have to get up. It's a very stupid process that I continue to do and have
my
for many
not
years.
much younger brother than me. My brother and I are a year and 5 days apart, and so like we basically grew up at the same rate, and he could not get up. Like, just not. Like alarms, he had 2 separate alarm devices on either side of his loft bed, and they would just both go off. Like, and there were those ones where it's like they would ring sort of at slightly different rhythms.
Yep.
Where it's like you could hear them kind of cycle, where they'd have 3 beeps together, and then there'd be a cacophony. And every morning before school, I would have to just hammer on the wall that separated our 2 bedrooms until he would finally get off. And then the favorite part of my morning, because he had a loft bed in his room, and the ladder down was straight down, and my dad had built it, and it had dowling like rungs on it.
Yeah.
I would just listen for it, because at least once a week I would hear my still comatose brother like hit that first rung, like, because he'd go face forward because it wasn't that high up.
Right.
And I would hear his foot rub on that rung off of it, and then I would hear his whole body just flap down onto the ground face first. It was my favorite part of the week. Like I knew it was going to be a good day if I heard that.
Yeah.
Did you prefer that early in the week, or do you like that later in the week?
You know what? I like the payoff.
Yeah?
Because it helped me wake up through the week, because I would wake up enough to like listen.
Is today the day?
Yeah.
And then it wasn't, so maybe tomorrow's going to be the day.
Today's going to be a good day. My brother fell flat on his face.
It is hard to wake up sometimes, and him putting 2 alarms and like separate
On either side.
Yeah, like if I know I'm super tired and the next day is gonna be tough to wake up, I'll put my phone on the other side of my bedroom, not right beside my head of my nightstand, and I'll be like, that means get up, you idiot! Like, let's go. So I kind of understand, but him taking a fall and you enjoying it, I also, as the oldest of 2 younger brothers, oldest of 3 boys. I enjoy their pain.
Yeah, exactly.
Not so much anymore, but when we were younger and our pain threshold and our ability to bounce back was still pretty good, it was great. Now I'm worried about that. I'm like, is he going to get hurt?
How's his hip?
Yeah, he's not swinging the club right. I think his foot's, something's not happening. He's 32 now.
And sleep it's crazy to me that you guys still need alarms.
I don't.
To wake up, because you guys
You
are
said that so
you guys
proudly.
are fast
No, I
approaching.
don't.
You're fast approaching that midlife switch, where it's
great.
The waking up isn't the problem; it's the going to sleep, like, and staying asleep.
I have a problem. I don't sleep deeply.
Yeah.
I get FOMO. Like if the sun's up, especially when it's nice now, the days are getting longer, and I can see daylight coming in.
Well, you should get up.
I like,
It's the going to bed. Just go to bed at a normal hour.
I can't.
But an alley cat like you, come on, you got to be on the prowl. I get it.
I know. Sometimes I am. I was watching Ricky Stanicki yesterday because Gager was talking it up. I was enjoying it, but I fell asleep like I think 3/4 of the way through. It was pretty good. It wasn't as good as Gager hyped it up to be.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna lie, John Cena, every time he's in a movie, he's winning me over.
Oh, I think he's absolutely charming, and he goes for it, right? Like you never feel like he's holding anything back in his roles. But I personally, I feel like 30 Rock ruined a lot of comedies for me.
Like, is it so good?
It's not just that it's so good. Like they stuffed so many jokes into such like tight areas that it's like their jokes per minute rate was at least like 3 probably. And so any sort of comedy that's not just, you know, hitting you over the head with the jokes, I'm just kind of like, oh, this is getting boring. Right?
Were you into Arrested Development?
Oh yeah.
That was way ahead of its time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So good.
Yeah, no, there was the 2000s, that for the first decade, the aughts. Do we call it the aughts?
The aughts, yeah.
The aughts.
Yeah.
Where it was kind of like Seinfeld and Friends and everything that had happened in the 90s had kind of prepped this group of writers that came on, and like the funniest sitcoms happened in the aughts. I know that there's going to be people who are like, well, Seinfeld and Friends, I was like, man, if you've watched Community, 30 Rock,
amazing.
or Arrested Development, like, nope. Those are clearly writers who grew up on Seinfeld and then took that expertise and just hit it out of the park.
Yeah, was that Justin Roiland that did Community, and then now he's doing Rick and Morty?
No, so it's
hey, T, get in here. Let's go.
Tychkowski, everyone.
Come on in.
It's good to see you. Oh,
they do that.
The chair does that.
They do that. Yeah.
Oh, that was your bit.
Here,
Let's get the whoopee cushion going.
Give me your
Nice hosts we have out there that can't even take his jacket and hang it up. They just send it in with the jacket in there. So you speak into the side part of the microphone.
Oh,
there.
like this? Like a rapper shoots?
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Exactly.
Of course, that's the reference you would choose. Your gang life. Greg Harmon is the guy.
Greg Harmon, yes. Justin
yeah.
Roiland, sorry, different
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Welcome in.
I left with plenty of time, and I don't know if you guys know this or not, but in the morning it gets really busy with traffic.
Weird, right?
I had no idea, right?
Yeah.
I Google mapped it last night, and it said like 30 minutes. Okay, I'll leave like 10 after. That'll allow lots of time. I look up, it's now 46 minutes to get there. I don't know where everybody's going, but it's crazy.
At 2 in the morning, it was super quick to get there.
Weird.
Yeah, I never see rush hour. Thankfully, like you go to the rink at about 10 o'clock.
Yeah. How alarmed were you at the poor quality of our drivers?
Our drivers.
Our drivers in our city.
Oh, in the city? Yeah.
He's taking responsibility for it somehow.
Yeah, I'm not going to take responsibility. Today I saw a bus almost just destroy this little Prius in the traffic circle on 107th, and the bus was on the horn like one exit before because they could see it happening, and I was like, oh my god, how do you not know how to negotiate a traffic circle if you're doing it every day? Sorry, then I saw
Bootsky, do not text in right now.
Yeah, then I saw.
Stay away, Bootsky. I had a big thing at 1260 on air about traffic circles.
Oh, you don't like them or you do like them?
No, I was trying to explain them, and it
They're
wasn't
not hard.
going well.
Left signal, unless you're
not
exiting
getting into
immediately
this.
to the right. Person on the inside has the right of way.
No,
We're gonna leave it.
I just
Anyway.
well, you guys can talk, but I'm
good to
not.
have
No,
you.
if
Yeah,
Bootsky's
good to be here.
listening,
Yeah,
he'll
good
know.
to be seen.
Just buy a bike, man.
There was a dude running today.
There's bike paths everywhere in the city. Your life will be better.
I got stolen.
Of course
Where?
it did.
And
From our building?
Yeah, years ago. That's
Don't you have a lockup? I have a lockup.
Yeah, I locked it up.
And someone broke into and
No, I
stole.
locked it up again. I didn't put it inside my cage.
Oh.
Because I was using more, but I locked it up against some other stuff, and they broke the chain. They took it.
Oh, that
shame.
sucks.
Time for another trip to Canadian Tire. Will this one have the tassels on the handlebars? Will the new one have that?
The new
Why do you think
baskets
they
are really
stole
solid.
Hey, I know how much you love bike lanes.
Oh, of course.
And when it snowed last week and it was piling up, as I'm walking to the rink, in front of our building is bike lanes, and the street sweeper goes by. Those things were immaculate. I had to walk on them to make my 50-pace walk over to the arena. And I was like, boy, Titch would love this.
No bikes to be seen for
Not
like
a
20
single
miles,
one,
but
no.
that road is mint in mint condition.
so grippy.
I think what kills me about the bike lanes is that I always spot somebody on a bike on the sidewalk next to the bike lane, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like,
When I was a kid, I took my bike everywhere. There was no such thing as bike lanes. You just either went on the sidewalk or you went on the road like a man. Like
a man. Like a man.
Deal with it.
No one has ever described masculinity with the riding of their bike. So
if you wore a
well.
helmet, you got beat up. Now I don't know where we are. Like,
Well, the best part, I don't want to get into civic politics too much here, but the best part is they're talking about this financial shortfall or whatever we're in, and it's like, but we do have $100 million set aside to maintain and expand the bike lanes. And I was like, wonderful. That is great.
You'll come on site. You'll buy a bike and you'll be like, oh, this is what I've been
I'll
missing.
get rollerblades first.
No, you won't. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And a helmet, too. And a helmet.
You did find a way to make bicycling masculine right then and there.
Oh, no, I will never do that. A bike eventually, obviously, but for now, walking downtown's fine. It's just fine. But those bike lanes, man, they're immaculately maintained.
Well, field of dreams, man. Build it and they will come.
Oh, they don't. They don't. Anyway, sports.
We can get into the sports if you guys would like.
Why not?
EST Flyaway keyword coming up just after 10 o'clock here on Edmonton Sports Talk, presented by FlyYG and the LVCVA. Oilers game last night. Couldn't get it done. Blow it up.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
It's over.
yeah, I mean, it was one of those. You play well enough, you maybe deserved a little bit better, but one's a high stick, the other's a really iffy goalie call. I'm not sure on the Nugent Hopkins goalie interference if that's necessarily goaltender interference. He kind of gives him a little tap and the pads open up a bit, but they're getting so soft with that now too. Like you can't. They're treating NHL goalies like quarterbacks almost, right?
Well, it's because when you go to
Because they are quarterbacks,
Is
right?
that-
Like if your starting goaltender goes down, your team's done.
You're done,
right? Like so.
But and then when you go to review, it's the black and like you can't be like, well, he kind of hit him.
Yeah.
It becomes black and white. It's like, well, he touched him.
Yeah.
That's a penalty.
Yeah,
or that has to be pulled back, and that's the problem. That's where the replay problem could come. Is that once you go to it, well, now it's okay. The ticky-tacky stuff has to be called,
right?
Because if you don't, what's the point of replay?
Yeah. They wanted replay to catch the guy who's 3 feet offside,
Yes.
and now he's barely offside. But you can't just say whatever. You gotta take it back. So. A league that's looking for more goals, it's tough when you have to take them off the board like that. But
that's an interesting thing you bring up. Are they looking for more goals? Like
I am when I go to a game.
Listen, I love scoring, but I don't look at today's NHL and think that they have an offense problem. Like it feels like an old complaint that we still have.
But you don't want to take away offense.
I agree,
right? And Stoff had it on the broadcast yesterday where he went. Every other league has rules put in place to try to push the offense, and hockey has all this stuff in place to take away offense. Like if it's an offside play that is pulled back, like you can never go the other way. You can't all of a sudden review that, be like, well, he wasn't offside, he was actually onside, and here's a goal that stands. Everything is in place to take offense away, never put it back in.
The argument that I have is not that I don't hate the fact that we take away offense. I just don't think that this is a league that is in an offense. I remember the offensive crisis days, right? When your leading scorer had 96 points, right? Connor McDavid is in a 3-way race where all 3 of them have over 120 points on the year, right? Like we have a 60-goal scorer in the NHL this year. Zach Hyman's got over 50 goals. This is not actually, the narrative is not actually that this is a league that needs more offense. I think there is the league right now, as far as gameplay, is actually probably in a pretty good spot. And I know that is not great news. Like we want controversy and we want something to complain about, but I don't know. Like as an Edmontonian and someone who watched that Anaheim game, and I remember being up in Skyreach, looking down. And I remember that team, that Anaheim Ducks team. I remember watching that for 4 years straight of a San Jose Sharks team just coming into town and just having pity, literally playing with a sense of pity for how bad the team was in front. And there was controversy about, was the new arena going to get built? And were we ever going to see good hockey in this town again? And now, you watch that Anaheim game with a Leon Draisaitl and a Connor McDavid on the ice, and they are just batting around the Ducks like they're mice and they're the cat. And they're playing in a gorgeous new downtown arena. Like, there's actually, aside from bad or questionable calls from officials in Toronto somewhere, there's not a lot of real, like, I remember when it sucked.
Yes.
And it doesn't suck right now.
Well, because
Like,
you have McDavid and
right?
Draisaitl on
Yeah.
your team.
You have McDavid and Draisaitl. You're playing in the arena that you wanted.
Yeah.
Your fans, like, these are the fat and happy days. The only thing this team has not achieved is a Stanley Cup. That's it.
Yep.
That is the only thing they haven't achieved. Like, which is a pretty incredible. Like, there's a lot of teams out there that have not achieved that Stanley Cup either. So they are in a really nice spot. Like, even that St. Louis game, like, when you look at that ice that they were playing on last night, you're like, holy cow! Like,
I was wondering
that
about
is
that.
gross. Like, and we don't have those complaints, right?
No.
Like, that's the thing.
No, they have misters in the building here to pump in humidity.
Yeah,
It's
You're right.
incredible.
Not having to take it out.
Yeah.
Pump the AC on the press box.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, it was a lot of AC the other night,
Nice
wasn't
and
there?
cool up there.
It is cold in that.
It's like, isn't it warm
You
outside?
bring your parkas to playoff games because it's freezing up there.
Yeah, but when you have a Connor McDavid, you need that ice as cold and as fast as it can be.
Well, they also screwed up part of the building of it.
With
I
what?
think. Well, I think they didn't take into account Fort Hall.
Yeah.
and that was
Yes.
the issue of
that's
why
It's a design flaw. All the cold air is leaving. So
Yeah.
they have to pump in the cold air. Like, I remember a few years ago at the Ivan Holinka, or Holinka Gretzky, it's called.
Yes.
Tide and JMO had to do shows from Rogers in the middle of the summer, and they were bringing toques on.
Yeah.
Like, they had to bring full because it was just freezing.
Don't we just need those plastic draping that they have at like meat packing plants? Everyone can just kind of go through.
They do have the
it's
curtains.
100 feet high though. There's
Yeah.
no stopping it. It's remember the World Juniors and there was nobody in the rink for the body heat. It was.
Yeah.
I had a down jacket and a space heater, and it was just
Because they have to really pump it in.
couldn't get out of that rink fast enough. It was just miserable.
Yeah, if it gets really hot again this year at the Holinka Gretzky, just head on there. You'll have some great AC.
That's right.
That's true.
Get in for cheap.
Yeah, if you want to go to watch the Holinka Gretzky, it's August.
But if it's like that 30-degree day and you just need to get into you need AC. That's where you're going to
Forget frolicking in
Oh
a
my
pool.
God,
Maybe
playing some golf. Let's go watch some 17-year-olds from Latvia play.
When it was a terrible team in town, man, you cared a lot more about 17-year-olds.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, remember when the draft mattered? Draft parties. Everyone was so pumped.
let's go.
Man, we cared a lot more about junior hockey when it actually maybe meant something. Yeah.
Funny that.
But the Oil Kings have had amazing success this year. The last 2 years, actually, attendance-wise, leading the Dub in attendance. The last game of the season, they had 17,000 people show up.
Well, and it should be, right?
But they didn't. When the Oilers had the decade of darkness, the Oil Kings weren't getting those numbers.
No, I agree.
Like, and it's amazing to see that the flip that they've had as an organization. That while the Oilers are dominating, everyone cares about the Oilers. The Oil Kings have seen massive success now with getting people inside that ring.
You're right. Yeah.
Cheaper ticket, right? Like nowadays, you want your entertainment dollar to go as far. That's why people are going to that baseball park all summer.
Riverhawks.
But that's a great time for a great price, and it's
Would you like to join us in the Section I gang?
absolutely. I love going there, man.
It is awesome.
What happens there?
The Section
That's
I gang,
just
well,
where
it's
it sits.
Cam Moon's thing.
Okay. That's just it.
Yeah.
Not an organized
It's in
deal.
Section I. It's third baseline. It's the best spot in
It's
the
kind
park.
of a letdown. I thought we were having like a beer gardens and
Well-
dancers and stuff, but just y'all sit in Section I.
Well, that is all it is. Mooner makes a great lunch buffet. You know, he's a great chef.
Oh, okay.
Surprisingly, and this is his thing. He calls it the Section I gang, and we all kind of congregate
So
there.
you go to Mooner's house and have a
Yeah, he lives right up the hill from the ballpark.
nice. And
Yeah,
then you walk down to the park. Yeah, I'll do
you
that.
might have like 19 drinks and then just stumble to the ballpark.
Yeah. Oh, I'm in.
Yeah, there's nothing else. Like, it's
Yeah,
not this.
yeah, like we don't have like leather
Private
jackets or
suite,
anything.
box.
We
Yeah.
don't have that big sky suite at Rogers or whatever. That's just for us.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
a Sky Palace.
twice a year we just go and rip it up there. No, it's
No.
just where we always go sit. And
Yeah.
'cause there's no better spot. Third baseline. I don't know what it is. There's some at that
great- you're in the
park.
sun.
That's the spot. You've got the whole downtown that you're looking at. You can still see Walter Dale and stuff, and it's the beautiful one. Sun setting on you.
Yeah, it's a good evening, and the ball's decent. Like I like watching the actual, being that close to the, to me, one of the best, most pleasing aesthetics in sport is a cleanly fielded ball to short and you fire to first. I just love seeing that. And, to be like 20 feet, 30 feet away from it or whatever you are when you're in the stands, it's a great time. And
baseball has
cheap.
like the best sound of the game, doesn't it?
And the look, and it's just, you're at peace. It's like a Zen garden.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still do it, but a few years ago I did the MLB package. And you could set up whatever game you want. You could pick your home away broadcaster, or you could take just stadium sound. You could cut out all the broadcasters, throw up a game, and just listen as if you were there. And I'd do that so many times because it's just whatever, have it on in the background, that back crack and stuff. It's just like, yes, give me that. It is the best.
Because like you could tell when it's a well hit ball, right? You hear the crack and it has that certain pitch to it.
Same with golf. Mm-hmm, you could tell in golf sometimes it's just that pure shot. You get that sounds beautiful.
Yeah. No, that's some of the best. And if you're not paying attention and people around you start to make noise, that the foul ball's coming your way. So you better look up or start ducking. You're right. There's a zen to it. That's a great way to describe it.
That's the rough part about Remax, though, is that if the foul ball comes, it's cement wall at the back.
Yeah,
and when it hits that, it shoots back right at you.
Yeah.
So you got to more be worried about it coming off that wall at you.
Well, I mean, it's the nature of the sport, right? Baseball forces conflict. It's the only way to resolve a baseball game is by going head to head, whereas every other sport has a clock. You can always rag the puck. You can always waste time and get it to the point where the game's just over, whereas baseball, not until that final out is the game over. So it creates a different ambiance and environment. It also allows you to not have to stay tuned to it nonstop as well, right? Like that you're
Crackle,
not...
something happened.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a perfect social event.
Yeah.
Did you see what your Cubbies did with the pyrotechnics yesterday?
Yeah, man.
Did you guys see the Cubbies pyrotechnics?
Was it the little?
Did you see them?
No.
They pulled out all the stops.
It was like sparklers. Basically, they could have had kids with sparklers in their hands run out beside the players. It was so weak.
Is this gonna play?
Yeah. Here we go. First game of the year at home.
I wonder if I can get this on screen.
Oh, that's so good.
What the hell was that?
If only the Cubbies were generating more revenue.
Yeah, like it's...
Oh, speaking of a license to print money, man, that Wrigleyville is a special
beautiful.
place. Just a special place.
Did you see... You've been to Wrigley, obviously, but did you see what they did? Because it's so old. They bought the stuff next door, tore it down, made a little fan plaza, a new office building that has the locker room in the office building with the tunnel underneath that goes to the
basically
dugout.
what they did is they excavated underneath Wrigley. So the way that they added space was they basically just dug more earth out from underneath it. So like more teams should learn that when you have an iconic place and you're looking around going, well, what are we going to do for parking? Well, first of all, if you have a city with public transit, you don't need parking. You just need your fans to buy into the fact that maybe we don't need to drive our car, which is great about it. And then secondly, you don't mess with a traditional building. You try and be creative, use your brain. And they've done that. Like, man, you could go to Wrigleyville, never step inside the stadium and spend a week there just enjoying yourself because there's so much pubs and other things going on around it. Yeah. Guys just hanging out outside, just waiting for home run balls, like, and to grab them and then resell them.
Favorite ballpark, Titch?
I'm trying to think of. I think I've only been to 3 or 4. Comiskey, what do they call Comiskey now? The Chicago
Safeco or whatever it is.
Yeah. That was really nice. Like I went to Wrigley and Comiskey, and then Sky Dome, and then what's the one in Pittsburgh? Maybe.
Oh, PNC Park.
Yeah,
that's a nice one. That's a really nice ballpark.
Chicago's actually stood up to the White Sox here in the last year. White Sox came to the city and were like, well, we need like $1 billion for a new stadium. And Chicago went to them and went, no, you don't.
Wow. But they're trying to beg the Bears to stay downtown.
Well, but the Bears aren't leaving out of the city now. It seems like that's over.
And they're giving them $1 billion to redo Soldier Field again.
Yeah.
They made a mess of it last time. It was kind of this iconic thing, and they put like the spaceship on top, and it didn't look good at all.
They didn't stick with what people loved about the stadium. They tried to make it look like something new, and that's not what was needed.
It is weird.
Yeah.
Could it not have been kind of like what Green Bay has at Lambeau, where they didn't change the shape of the interior, but they did add around it in the concourses and stuff. And then in the one end zone, they built like suites.
Yeah, you can do a whole bunch of things, but Green Bay is the worst example. Green Bay is a community-owned team, right? So, I mean, 100% of the time, the problem with sports teams is their owners. Like, it's their owners and either their ego or how much money they want to be able to make. Green Bay is not that. Green Bay is a community-owned, like everyone's got a share in it. And so it is not an owner who's sitting there going, we need to maximize profits.
Right.
It is a group of owners going, we need to maximize our fans' experience when we go to a football game. So it's just a completely different mindset, right? So Green Bay is, I would love every team to have the Green Bay model, but that's, I think that ship sailed probably about 80 years ago. So, yeah.
Oh, we're getting to the point where with sports ownerships, with the way it's going, it's like you're going to cheer for your ownership group,
right?
That owns like their MLB team, their NFL team, their soccer team. They're just going to own a bunch of things, and you're going to eventually just cheer for Fenway Sports Group and this sports group, and that's all it is, because it's just you can't afford. And no, like if the Oilers went for sale, like ultimately, who could buy it? Like you're getting to that, but where things are so expensive, but like everything's getting up there that it's just going to be those, like we're seeing in the world with other things. There's just going to be a few people that are going to own all the sports teams.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to say who could buy it. The fastest growing demographic in North America is billionaires.
That's not good.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It's not good.
Like as far as a percentage
per capita, I'm assuming he means.
The homeless will give them a good run for their money.
Well, no, like
if you're growing the billionaires, we're probably growing the homeless in the end.
Homeless, we keep having about the same amount. It's just that we as a society continue to grow, but billionaires just keep, like the accumulation of wealth at the top over the last 10 years is mind-boggling, the amount of money that's out there.
The pandemic was good times for billionaires.
Pandemic was a really, like, if you are over the age of 65, like, the last 10 years have been a real good time for you if you had investments. So that's what we've seen. And so when you say, like, who could afford it, you'd be amazed, man. Like,
but you're getting to a point where, like, you're
like, we all thought that
less.
before Daryl Cates came around. Like, who can step up? And then all of a sudden there was a Daryl Cates sitting there going, like, yeah, I made some good investments, and now I'm a billionaire. Like, Daryl Cates hasn't lost money.
No, but
he's only grown his wealth, and that's the case for
the
Oilers
mega
have
wealthy,
gone
from
right?
200 million to 2 billion.
To 2 billion. That's right. Yeah,
that like is a sizable amount of money for someone to have to drop down and want to pay. There would be the groups that could do it. But from 10 years ago, the amount of groups that could potentially put that bid in, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Like when Manchester United went up for sale a couple of 2 years ago or whatever, it was immediate like, oh, this club's worth $7 billion US.
It's also
how many people can just be like, yeah, put my name into that ring.
Just go to an F1 race and
it's also
find
partly
out from them because they're all there.
I mean, we knew that Peter Palkington was a bad businessman. We had no idea the scale at which he was bad at business until basically, well, we've seen it with the Oilers that they've increased their value.
The rink has a lot to do with it.
Well, the rink has a lot to do with, but also that's about maximizing your market value. Like the Oilers were always the number one game in town. They were always the number one game in northern Alberta, most of Saskatchewan, northern BC. Like they always had this demographic. They just had such poor management that they didn't know how to get money out of these fans who were passionate. They've really started to maximize the fact that eyeballs count, right? What did YouTube and Facebook teach us? Like, it's not just about the money that you spend, it's the time that you spend as well. And the Oilers take our time because we want to give it to them. And that's worth something. That's worth something to advertisers.
Titch, did you, because you were around when Pocklington owned the team, was he one of those guys that would talk to the media and stuff?
He was around.
Will, were you? Yeah.
No, he was fine for that. Yeah, you could. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
could pick his brain.
He was kind of an open book.
Yeah, he was around
all
the
crook,
time.
But he was an open book.
Yeah, you just go up and talk to him if you wanted. He's like, hey, how's it going? And, but not like this guy.
No. Although, if I was him, I wouldn't talk to anyone either. I always look at owners like these billionaires and go, yeah, it'd be great if they were nicer people. But I can't say I would do anything different if I was like, I know the quickest way to turn me into a supervillain is give me $2 billion.
Yeah.
Like, I would like one bad customer experience and I'm buying things to just fire people, right? Like, like your traffic experience this morning. Imagine if you were a billionaire, what you would do instead.
Oh, I'd
right?
be buying a helicopter every minute. And depends when you get the money too. Like if you get it at our age, you're fine. If you get it when you're in your early 20s, you're dead in an Amsterdam gutter.
The way we were all meant to go. Yeah, all you have to do is go to that one tragic funeral where the phrase "died doing what he loved" is mentioned, and you're kind of like, yeah, there's a lot of ways to die doing what you love.
Yeah. He loved falling off a mountain. I'll tell you. He always talked about how great that would be.
Yeah, man, the thrill climb up this mountain is great, but that day that it ends and I fall off it,
tell you what,
that's going to be the best.
They'll be talking about this for like ever.
I might get on the news. This is the EST Hangout presented by White Claw. Matt Iwanyk, Wil Fraser, Rob Tychkowski, Tom Gazzola with here. Portions of this hour brought to you by the High Product Marketing, merch partner of EST promotional products that bring the buzz. Check them out at thehighproductmarketing.com. Brandon, the Oilers fan, was on the broadcast yesterday on St. Louis with the Edmonton Sports Talk hat on.
That was good.
The guy from Illinois, him and his wife, they were up here and they bought some stuff, and wearing the EST hat during the Blues game.
Super nice. I think they came down to Bourbon Street when I was on location for pre-game and post-game. On their way to the game, they're like, "We want to come say hi," and then
that is not on the way.
I know. Well, they're not from here,
and they were staying at Century Casino. They were staying at Fort Road.
That's they love the
Illinois. Somebody else that was staying there.
Yeah.
No, they were staying downtown. No, actually, because I went to their hotel to give them their stuff. Yeah, no, they're like next to the rink.
Yeah.
So they went all the way out of town, or like left to go to West End to come back to the rink.
Yeah, when you try to describe Edmonton to people who aren't from here, you go, it's a big city, man.
Spread out,
and they're like, oh, really? Like, how many people? Well, maybe 1.5 million. Well, that's not... No, like, physically, it's big, man. Like, pack a lunch if you got to go somewhere. Like,
Edmonton's easy to get around. Calgary sucks.
Well,
Calgary's miserable.
Listen,
I feel like Edmonton is very easy to get anywhere. Once the Henday opens...
Says a guy who drives at 4 a.m.
I do not drive... I don't do mornings anymore.
Oh, okay.
I'm off of that. No, I, like... With the Henday, once they get the Yellowhead completely finished, the White Mud's usually pretty good now because they've got it's a freeway, and like it's a lot. It's not that like it's the longest drive in Edmonton.
I would agree with you, but your daily commute is what is it, 40 kilometers?
Daily, maybe less.
Yeah, but not by much. Like you live in the city and work in the city, and you're still putting like 35 kilometers on your vehicle every day.
I don't know if it's that
I think
much.
it's only 7K from downtown to here.
As the crow flies.
What does Google Maps say?
I don't know.
Oh, jeez.
We've got this thing that can tell us 9 kilometers.
There you go.
So that's 18.
Yeah. Less than 20.
You drive more than 18.
Not if I'm going home.
Gotta go to Tim Hortons.
I don't stop at Tim Hortons. Does this look like a Tim Hortons to you, Will?
There's one right across the street.
You think I'm stopping at Tim Hortons for this? I got my White Claw.
Drinking White Claw at 9 a.m.
We're presented by White Claw. Would you like one?
Yeah, you're supposed to shotgun
I've never had
one.
a White Claw.
They're delicious.
Yeah.
If you want one later, we'll go grab you one.
sure.
There were a lot of things that happened at 1260 that you didn't know about either. That's for damn sure.
I was just all public. No, it's... I'm taking one for the team.
You got it, yeah.
Presented by White Claw. The raspberry's delicious. We've got lemon. We've got watermelon.
Would you like one?
Black cherry.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of those are in the fridge.
Natural lime, not fake lime.
The lime is the best.
Is it?
It's actually their number. Like, well, they get
Sounds
the
like
number
you want
one.
Maybe a 10.
We can wait it out.
I'll see. I'll get the order of what we have. So when 10 o'clock rolls around, I'll get the boys to tell us.
You can't drink the display ones, or are those empty?
Well, they're warm.
Oh, okay.
Do you want a cold one or you want a warm one?
Yeah, cold would be ideal.
I'm looking after you here.
Hey, not to get into like traffic and all that crap, because I thought we already went through this morning. But how hard is it for people to understand the grid system that we have? Because people will be like, well, in Calgary, they have all these roads that just cut through, and it's very easy to navigate. And the quadrants.
One
ways. It's like, yeah, the one ways, so many one ways. It's like, hey, there's this thing called a grid, and then it goes up one way and it goes up the other way, and all you have to do is intersect and connect, and that's how it works.
It used to be that way until they did all the expansion to the southeast.
Yeah, and then it got weird. It got weird.
And now we have to include NW on
Yeah.
a lot of our addresses. Yeah.
That's a good point. My parents' old neighbors from their place when they had a home in Phoenix, they are from Denver. And they're like, we're coming up to Canada for a concert. And my parents like, great, come by, stay at our place, whatever. And they came up here and they're like, we took the 216. It was so fast. And I was like, the 216? They're like, yeah, the road that goes all the way around. I'm like, oh, the Henday. And then they're like, what? The 216? And I'm like, yeah, it's called the Anthony Henday Drive. They're like, who's that? And I had to think for a second. I'm like, I think it was like one of the first explorers that found the
He was a smuggler.
the area.
He wasn't a smuggler. He was a
Was he a trapper?
he was a cartographer. He was
Oh,
employed
okay.
by the Hudson's Bay Company to find different routes across the mountains.
They found that very fascinating. And this city's very modern. And we're like, yeah.
We're modern.
It's a city. You know.
Yeah, it's a city. There's over 1 million people here. It's generally what happens. They're like, beautiful. Nice homes, and we're like, what the hell? We lived beside you in another city for like 12 years, and you're looking at where we live, and like, this is okay.
Got running
It was
water and all that
It was
stuff.
adorable, but at the same time, really annoying. It's like, okay, you guys are sweethearts, but weird.
It is a pleasant city.
It is a pleasant city, but-
especially if you've done any driving around the states.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, absolutely.
like Detroit, for example.
Yeah.
What happened there, Titch?
That was a while. I can't.
That was a long time
piece it
ago.
together.
And you wrote an article, and I'm paraphrasing. You were the one who wrote it, but correct me if I'm wrong. You were making some sort of allegory about how the Detroit Red Wings were no longer who they were, and they would
It was.
they would have to like they'd been chalked out like they died, and the police had tried to chalk them out, but they couldn't. It meant that they couldn't afford chalk for the schools.
May I? Was it? No. Okay. Let me take a crack at it. I think this is the lead, right? Detroit, a city where there's more chalk on the streets than there are in the classrooms. Did I get it?
Things straight.
You got it. So go ahead.
All
Sorry.
right. So the Oilers were slumping. It was one of those rare occasions where the Oilers were really bad, and they're going into Detroit, which is
where
murder
you got
city.
murdered.
Like it's right in the name.
Yeah.
So I said, welcome to Detroit, where the forecast, as always, is muggy with a chance of murder.
Yeah.
And they took it the wrong way, right?
Right, yeah.
And then I said, it's not the place you go to resurrect yourself, in a city where they use more chalk to outline the bodies than they do in the school. And they took it the wrong way. And then, like, I hit send on that story.
Yeah.
And then that was back then, and they wouldn't really post it on the web. They would kind of put it on the web a little bit, but they would hide it, and it would be kind of buried a little bit. And like 20 minutes later, I get an email from somebody in like Sweden.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell is this? And it's like, how dare you write something about Detroit? And they go, how would they even know? I just filed that, right? And then ding, ding, ding. And I'm like, what is going on here?
You
And it was
became
like,
public enemy #1 in Murder City.
one place you don't want to get murdered is Detroit. Like,
And I remember because The Simpsons, like shortly after this, The Simpsons had a whole thing where one of the characters riffed on Detroit, and Mo Sizlak is like, whoa, go easy on Detroit. It's like Mad Max in there these days. And I was like, oh man, Detroit is getting it from Titch and The Simpsons. It's a bad month for Detroit.
That was a long 24 hours.
Didn't Mickey Redmond confront you?
Somebody was screaming, and then the TV station comes and they wanted to do a thing on it, and I said, "Oh, I'm in the media. I can't hide from it. If they want to ask you about something you did, you can't just say, oh, I don't want to talk about it." So between periods, I go down and do a little thing in the stairwell, and the ironic part is the lady was saying, I would have come here earlier, but they found a body in the water, and I had to do that. So I'm like, okay.
I had to cover 4 murders. I would have been here sooner.
You're not wrong.
So she starts asking me some questions, and I'm like, I'm making a joke, and it's Murder City, and a lot of people get killed here, and the cameraman is like, yeah, and what about this? Like, he's not even in the interview thing, and he's pointing his finger at me and grinding it. And then Mickey Redmond's giving me grief, and then the next, I go back to the hotel, go to sleep, and I guess I set my alarm for 6 a.m. or whatever. I get a wake-up call from the hotel at 3:30, and I'm like, okay, well played. That was good. I'll give you credit for that one. All right, I like it.
Well, you can see them all standing around like, oh, we're really pissed off about this Rob Tychkowski guy. What do we do? Murder him! Guys, that's just playing into his hands.
Yeah,
I guess the 3:30 wake-up call's the best we can do.
Oh, yeah. I was sitting in the airport, my collar's up, my hood's down. I'm just waiting to get out of there. When the wheels lifted up the air, I was like, what was that movie? That movie where they smuggle the people. Argo.
Just waiting to cross the city borders. I'm free.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And in years since, I'm sure they've come to and
I've
went
been back and
went,
fine,
you know what, Rob? We've been looking around. I think you were onto some things.
Man, that was a rough town. My first couple of trips there, oh my God, scary, legit scary. Everyone's a shyster and boarded up windows all over the place.
It is never a good sign when your number one attraction downtown is a casino. If your name isn't Las Vegas, that is not a good sign.
It was rough.
They got hardcore pawns.
Yeah.
They had that big pawn shop with those greasy people.
Right. Yeah.
That whole show done from them.
Yeah.
Well, I was in St. Louis a couple of years back, and I'm just walking. I got a sub in my hand. I'm going back to the hotel, and there's a car's kind of parked this way, and I'm on the sidewalk, right behind the car. And there's a truck kind of stopped on the road, he's angle parked, and the truck's there. And these guys are having a beef. And I'm just walking oh, yeah, look at these guys. And the guy in the car says, why don't I pull out my 4.4? And he pulls a gun out of the thing. Oh. And he's pointing it at this truck. And I'm right behind him. And I'm like, oh, I hope I don't get caught in the crossfire. That wouldn't be very good. And then I'm also thinking, I hope I don't startle this guy I'm coming up behind him while he's angry and holding a gun, right? So I keep walking. I'm like, don't shoot me in the back. Don't shoot me in the back. I get to the corner and I take out my camera so I can... But I didn't say anything about it. I don't want St. Louis on my case either.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Man,
Died doing what he loved.
Doing a number on the Midwest.
Died making jokes about a murder city. I'll tell you what, if Titch wanted to go, it's 3 in the chest.
Died doing what he loves. I love it.
Yeah, his last words were, I told you.
Called. I was right.
Who's laughing now?
Oh, we are laughing.
Oh, jeez.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot what we were talking about.
It doesn't matter.
We got into that story. Thanks for bringing that one up.
Yeah,
That was
great.
God, still one
That
of
was
my
a joyous time. And
yeah.
just seeing the anger. And
That reminded me from being on the road in Pittsburgh. They have a lot of gypsy cabs in Pittsburgh. You remember that? Because they have very limited cab, legitimate licenses and stuff. So there's a lot of gypsy cabs.
What's a gypsy cab?
It's just
Uber with
a private, yeah.
Oh, a guy says I'm a cab?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And it's I don't know, that Cutlass 1987 doesn't really look like it's, but he's got the sign on top and it kind of lights up. And you're like, okay, so, and I asked Jack Michaels, I'm like, this gypsy cab thing, is it legit? He goes, yeah, you're fine. Don't worry about it. It's kind of a weird Pittsburgh thing.
Well, Jack Michaels is fine, but you're too pretty to be getting into anyone's random car.
Let me tell you. So I get in this car and we're going, I don't know if we're going out to the bar or coming back. And the cab driver, I use with quotation marks, he gives me his business card. It's literally a piece of paper that's been printed on, and he just cut it himself. He's like, you need to ride anytime, just call me, man. And I'm like, all right. And then he's fiddling around for a pen or something to write the price, because I have to submit receipts. And as he's doing that, a gun falls out of the console, and I'm like, oh. And he's like, don't be scared. It's okay. I need to protect myself. And I was just like, where the hell am I? He's like, it's all good, man. It's protecting us. And I was like, all right, I will not be calling you. Yeah, America.
Yeah.
America.
Leave a good tip.
Oh, yeah, you have to at that point. Mm-hmm. You don't want him looking at you like, oh, that guy cheaped out on the tip with me.
And he's hitting it with the old...
Oh, nice.
Oh. Yeah. That old thing for
Like
the credit
magazine,
card.
you mean?
Yeah.
Or the
credit
no,
card.
old credit card.
I thought he was racking the
You're
slot.
You're going the gun still. Check this one out.
Let me.
What are we talking? 10%?
Yeah, exactly. Tip well.
Yeah.
Oh, the whole credit card just.
Yeah, it was the old credit
yeah.
card machine. No, he wasn't
Okay.
getting ready to blast me or anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you guys are safe. All your road trips. The fact that you guys are here today to tell these tales.
He has a great Nashville one. I don't know if it's fit for air, but
So naturally, what you do is bring it up on air. Yeah, bring it.
I don't know if you can say this, but
I don't
I'm
know,
gonna
but Ted,
gonna
you
dangle it.
had a wild time in Nashville.
Oh, well,
I think everyone has a wild time in Nashville.
Yeah,
Yeah, you never wake up in Nashville not hungover.
Yeah.
it just
That's
happens.
just tough road trip city for teams, right?
The home ice advantage. In a
It is,
sense, for
yeah.
the Preds.
Well, and they've been using it to their advantage over the last month and a half. So
That's the best road trip city in the league by far. And then since once they started getting the teams, you see all the construction going up there
Yeah.
now. It's growing like crazy because people show up and say, "This place is awesome. I'm coming back all the time." And it's just,
Yeah, you don't really hear anyone come back from Nashville be like, "He is all right."
yeah, no, that's a
I guess it was amazing time, and now it just for the sports reporters, like that's the place you want to go. That's where you want to go visit. It's that in Vegas, almost like the two cities. If you're trying to plan it, like let's say an Oiler trip, it's one of those two cities that kind of like right at the top for that travel.
And I went there in the middle of COVID, and like in Edmonton, Canada, everybody's masked up, and on the plane you're all masked up. You get out of the airport in Tennessee, you don't see a mask in the entire city, right? So I'm 100% getting COVID.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
That's the way it's going to
Yeah.
be, right? There's no way around it, right? So you're in the airports, you're in the rinks, you're in 3 or 4 bars a night for 3 nights, and came back to Canada, nothing.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the heck? And then 2 weeks later in Edmonton, wearing a mask, I got COVID again for the first time. I'm just like, well, that doesn't seem to make a whole lot of mathematical sense, but it's
What a time! It was a weird time, man.
that COVID stuff was. I
been
think
4
back to it
years.
now.
I
You
know.
have to show a
4
passport
years.
to get into a restaurant, like a vaccine thing. Where the hell were we as a society?
But it was also one of those things where it's like, I'm the one that's going to a restaurant in the middle of a COVID outbreak. Like, I can't believe I have to. Wait a minute. Why am I doing this? Why am I sitting around strangers who are hacking their lungs out?
It's hard to trust people in general, especially at a time where hygiene was at a premium.
Dude.
When we can go to the bathroom and we know, and you see so many dudes that just go to the bathroom and walk right out.
yeah.
And you're like, look at all the piss mitts walking around.
Yeah, there's a lot of failed
It's
report cards
disgusting. Yeah.
if you go to a public
Yeah.
washroom.
And where's the line when you start calling people out?
Oh,
I-
the older I
mean,
get, the more I call people.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I want to be around that.
My wife gets really upset with me in malls.
Did you go full dad voice like you did at that street hockey? thing
No,
we had?
that's too that makes people cry. Like,
What did you do?
We were at a street hockey event, road hockey tournament, and I can't remember what happened, but there was like a fight breaking out, and he just yelled like,
Marc Mageau was. I think Marc Mageau was probably playing right on the line as far as with his stick and stuff like that, and he had a guy just like go after him and really start swinging, and so I'm on the sidelines and I just went full dad voice on this guy, and everyone froze.
Everyone stopped.
Everyone's memory of their dad yelling at them kicked in. Like,
and I think all you yelled was like, stop, or
yeah,
something. Like,
exactly.
it wasn't even a
I think
walk.
it was like, hey, like that's enough or something like that.
It was very quick. And it was just, everyone was just like, oh, and it all stopped.
Just like the game stopped dead in the water, and everyone like
Full dad voice.
Wow.
It was also at a charity. It was a charity event for cancer, and Paul Brown got kicked out because he was smoking a cigar. in
he
this place.
showed up with the cigar lit
And they
in his
kept
mouth.
telling him, like, well, you can't be smoking the cigar. You're like non-smoking. Also, like,
Did
it's an
he
event for cancer. I mean,
happen to say it's funny?
I'm smoking this, and then they had to kick him out. And there was a Bear team that was involved with it, and they had to play. And they were the worst. That might have been the team you yelled at, but yeah, he got kicked out.
Showed
Smoking
up
a cigar.
to a cancer event smoking?
Yeah.
That's,
Inside the grounds.
Well, but
we're not allowed.
this is kind of adjacent to the whole like showing a passport to get into a public place during a like you invited Paul Brown to something like like
Well, I
it's-
don't think they
it's
did.
kind of your fault. Like
They didn't invite Paul Brown as much as they invited the Bear, and he's the one that went.
he was associated with it, man. Like
forgot where he is right now.
Hamilton.
No, I think
Vancouver?
he left Hamilton. No, it was Vancouver, and then went back to like the east. Then he was in Hamilton, and I thought he went from Hamilton somewhere else.
He ended up doing a radio show in Vancouver for a while with Michael Coos, which talk about
Weatherman?
the odd
Yeah.
couple. Like,
Wow.
like that is just two exact opposite ends of the spectrum of person. Like Michael Coos was the nicest man you could ever meet. Yeah.
I still stand by. He adored Dave Jameson because he came when Dave came to the work with us. Paul tried being Paul and doing stupid things to get under Dave's skin or like mess with him. And Dave spent 14 years in an Elks locker room. Like anything
Oh,
Paul
yeah.
had, he's like, he's seen worse.
He's seen the worst
And so
of
then
people.
he didn't get to Dave. So then he became impressed by Dave. That Dave didn't care about his weirdness.
No.
And then, Dave was his idol. He looked so up to I have a picture where, because one time Yukon told Paul, he's like, what do you know about Dave? Like, it's always about you. And so Paul came in with like 10 questions to ask Dave about his life. And he just sat there reading his questions off his sheet, trying to learn more about Dave.
Yeah. I give Paul Brown credit for changing me for the better. Like
Really?
Yeah, like I started like dressing better because of Paul Brown.
You also yelled at his dog.
Well, that was afterwards. I showed up one week because we had shows on the same floor.
Yeah.
I showed up 3 days in a row wearing the exact same thing that Paul Brown was.
Yes.
And on the third day, I was like, I got to make some changes. Like, this is not a good. This
Then
does
you
not
dress shirt, dress
does not
pants.
reflect well on me. So yeah, I started. Yeah. Well, no, like he's a sociopath, and so I realized that any attention, positive or negative, is what the man wanted. And so like you couldn't ever target anything at him because that like he wanted the reaction. But he had this dog that he forced people to be around, even though the cleaning ladies were afraid of it and people had allergies. And the dog was not a sociopath.
No, the dog was great. I felt bad for Turner.
Well, I always said if Turner had
terrible
thumbs,
life.
he would have tied a noose a long time ago. But like that was the most depressed dog I've ever met. But I did find that if you yelled at the dog wouldn't want to be around, and so Paul would have to leave.
Oh my God. Jess in the nasty chat. Jess Jackson from the Bear.
Yeah.
Phrase, you dress better because of Jill's hot boyfriend.
Oh, no, he actually, here's the truth
Milan.
of it.
Oh.
Milan almost killed any like feelings I had for dressing better because he would show up in the like a Christmas sweater and like capri pants and would look like $1 million in it.
Yeah, that's a good
And
looking
people
couple.
would be like, wow, he's a good dresser. And I'd always be like, no, he's not. He's just gorgeous. Like he can make. And so, yeah, that's true. There was a time where anytime he showed up, like to visit Jill, the next day I would try and wear something as close to the exact same thing that he wore, and show up and be like, "This is what it looks like." And people would be like, "Oh, you're right. That's a terrible outfit. Yeah, you're absolutely on your short, fat, stocky frame. This doesn't look good."
But on Milan, it looked great.
He's a nice guy. That is a good looking couple.
Oh,
He's the hot one of the relationship.
And Jill is
That's the crazy part. He's the hot one of the relationship.
Via the Paris Jewelers inbox, Mac Lamec says, the Red Wings were the first team I've seen who have a disaster response / property restoration company, Belfour, as one of their main sponsors. It seemed very fitting. That would be like the Flames getting sponsored by a fertilizer company.
I think they probably are.
Mosaic, anyone?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. What is going to happen with those Flames, by the way?
In like what way? Like as a team?
Yeah, I just like it. Having gone through what we went through in Edmonton for 20 years, like you can't help but feel like I've seen this.
Listener of the station, RCN, I saw him message or make a comment that he feels like the Flames are in their Cogliano, Nilsson, Gagne.
Yeah, no, that's
era.
exactly it. Like
This is that era for them.
Well,
which, if that's the case,
but not only
man,
that,
they've got
but it's
a lot
like
of bad coming up.
like the guys calling the shots are Craig Conroy and Jerome McGinley, who once again I'm just like I've seen this.
Yeah.
I've seen this before. It doesn't it doesn't end well. Like it doesn't end. Like,
Yeah.
like,
And they're worse off than the Oilers because they're locked into Huberdeau for
well, this is just
big
it.
money.
Like they've got some
The Oilers didn't have
terrible
that contractual
contracts.
anchor that they had to work around.
Like,
Ugh.
yeah, where you're just kind of like, I was online yesterday, and of course, online just gives you more information than you ever want. But the amount of like it's not all bad that was the commentary around the Calgary Flames. I'm just kind of like, no, it's all bad. Like there is no silver lining here, folks. Like you can love that Mackenzie Weegar's got 18 goals, but the only reason you're talking about Mackenzie Weegar with 18 goals is because there's nothing else positive to talk about. Like, I mean, the Oilers had that where you're kind of like, oh, but that Sam Gagner, he looks like he could be something, and you're kind of like, he's not fast enough for how small he is. Like
Tom Gilbert, Robert Nielsen. This is our core moving forward.
Yeah.
You're not that good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, or go all the way back to the Tom Pody years where, like, he wasn't good. They boo him out of town. And then for the next 5 years, we have to talk about, they never should have gotten rid of Tom Pody. And you're like, Tom Pody doesn't help you win hockey games. Like, watching Matthias Ekholm, I'm just kind of like, that's what mature organizations do. That's the ad that you make. You go and get guys that help you win hockey games, not put points on a board, not help your fantasy hockey team. They help you win hockey games. And it took 20 years for this team to get to that point where they made proper ads and not panic moves, not flashy moves, not going out and getting a Dustin Penner or whatever, but actually going and saying, if we take this guy out and bring this guy in, we just have more of the same, right? That you're not just making changes because it feels like you need to make changes. Like, and you look at that Calgary Flames roster and you're just kind of like, God bless you, but you're in for a long haul here. Like, go talk to Buffalo. The only team that seems to have skipped it was, first of all, Vegas, that never went through it. And then now you look at Nashville and you're just kind of like, are they going to pull this off? Are they going to do the quick reset? But I guess when you hold on to a Roman Josi, you can kind of flatten out the bumps a little bit. That's what you need to do. You
took the Oilers, 15 years with McDavid.
Yeah.
Like, if they don't win that lottery, they're Buffalo right now. Like,
exactly.
It's not like they're geniuses. Like, they stumbled onto Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
As an organization, they got lucky.
Yeah.
And they didn't deserve Connor McDavid. For the people running it.
At least they didn't tank and finish
I disagree.
last. They won it from third last.
The luck wasn't Connor McDavid. The luck was Leon Draisaitl. No one saw this, right? Like when they stepped to the podium with the third pick overall and said Leon Draisaitl, you had some guys that had seen him in PA going, yeah, he kind of reminds me of Peter Forsberg a little bit. And you were like, oh my God, if he could be Peter Forsberg, that'd be incredible. Well, he's better than Peter Forsberg. Yeah. Like, he is a future Hall of Famer. Like, that's the luck, is not getting the surefire, but getting the guy that everyone thought was a good player and he becomes one of the best. Like, you look at Colorado, like, their forwards get all the praise, but the luck was the Cale Makar draft, right? Like, that's what puts them over the top. That's why they win a Stanley Cup, is because they were able to find value, not in the second round or the third round, but with that fourth overall pick or that fifth overall pick that everyone thinks is going to be a good NHLer, and they become a Hall of Famer. Like, that's where you need your luck, or goaltending, where you just end up, and don't even ask me how you do that, because goaltending is even harder to predict now than it was 10 years ago.
And, look at Canada. We're not developing goalies.
Until
really, like
we do.
used to.
Right? Like, there's no way to predict when that goalie surge happens. Like, all of a sudden you can be a Latvia and produce 3 top-level goaltenders within years of each other. So, yeah, I don't... Like, part of the reason why we don't think that Canada has the goaltending is not as impactful of a position as it used to be. It is, but it is not...
Well, you need to. Your goalie needs to be hot at that moment.
We're no longer defining teams by their starting goaltender. Like, Titch, you and I both saw the Patrick Waugh era on through, where every top team was defined by the goaltender that they put out in front of you, and that's just not the case.
Until you don't have it. And then
Yeah, exactly. Like, you don't know that you have a great goaltender until you lose it now in the NHL.
Yeah.
Right? But when you have them, it's not like you're outside of Winnipeg, I can't think of another team that you're sitting there going, well, this team lives and dies on their goaltender. Right? Winnipeg doesn't have a Connor
Lives and
Hellebuck.
dies on their
They are
goaltender.
not. Like, the reason why Winnipeg has dropped off over the last month is because Connor Hellebuck can only play so many games. He's going to get tired, and clearly he is tired right now. He's not, like, when you look at them early in the year, especially what they did to the Oilers from time to time and other top teams, it was a Connor Hellebuck just being the best player on the ice. And I don't know, like, tell me, is there another team that is...
That as reliant on their goalie, I was trying to think of that. Because there's top goalies out there.
Yes,
there are.
there are.
There's still Shesterkin.
Sorokin and on Long Island.
All good goaltenders.
Saros with the Preds. But who relies on their goalie and like that? And it would have been the Habs with Carey Price from a few years ago. That was a team that I remember one year, like through the first half of the season, until he got hurt or something, like he could have been in the Hart conversation because he was just unbelievable.
Well, for a long time there was always a goaltender in the Hart conversation. When was the last time that was the case?
Shesterkin, a couple years ago. I think he was being discussed
Hellebuck?
about it.
I think we throw their names in there, but we don't give them
Well,
serious consideration.
I think Shesterkin got some people actually talking that one year because what was he have like a 930 something save percentage for the whole regular season or something like that.
So Larry
It was
Brooks voted for him, yes. I mean, that's usually the case. Is you get a group of writers in a city like New York or whatever that have their pet candidate, but not league wide, right? Like it's not the talk.
Speaking of like New York writers, do you have like a good relationship with those guys? Like, are they different and kind of do their own thing?
They're all decent people, but East Coast guys are a little bit different because you don't see them as often.
Right.
Like you're there once a year, they're here once a year, and depending on who travels, you kind of get to know the guys, in your division more and in your conference a little bit more. But it's a decent fraternity. I don't know of too many, feuds or any of that sort of thing. Everybody gets along, everybody helps each other out, and hey, how's it going? And see you again in a couple of months when the team's in town. But
What's it like in the newer markets? Like as far as the media that follows the team and stuff like that. Like
it depends where. I remember I had to use up some flight credits. If you book a flight and then cancel it, they give you a year to use up your thing. So the boss goes, well, you got to fly somewhere.
Yeah.
And do something. And Nashville. I'm going to Nashville. Of course I'm going to Nashville.
Yeah.
So
I'll take one for the team.
If
No one wants to go, I'll just
you're
go.
forcing me. Yeah.
So this is way back, and normally when the Oilers are there, the dressing room's full of media, and it's just packed, right? I go there for just like a Nashville practice, and it's just me. Like I'm the only guy there. Like one TV thing, and I go to the PR guy, like, who can I get? And he goes, you're the only guy here. Do whatever you want. So I had like a 15-minute sit down with Forsberg, and then a 15-minute sit down with Korea, and I just loaded up my stuff and walked back across the street to the hotel, and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. But, so in some of the non-traditional markets on a regular practice, there's not a whole bunch, but it's getting better. Like depends on your hockey city. Like Boston, New York, and Philly, you get a ton of writers, but Florida, it's less so, but not nothing. So
What about in those new markets? I think like a Seattle is because that's a mature hockey market, but it's not a mature NHL market.
No, I mean there's enough Canadiana there. It's right across the street from Vancouver.
Well, and guys that have been writing about junior hockey for forever and stuff like that.
It's not like they're just in the early days of Tampa hockey where they couldn't tell you. It took a couple of guesses to tell you what color the puck was, right?
Right.
It wasn't. Now by the time you get an NHL city, they've done their research and they're not going into a place that doesn't know anything about it.
Should they go back to Atlanta?
No. I mean, no. I don't like the city, so no.
Speaking of big cities, it's a spread out city as well. Yeah. Should they go back to Atlanta?
No, I don't think you go back to Atlanta. Like, to me, if I was in charge and I could magically go to one spot, I'd put a second team in Toronto. Like that to me is the.
That's been the case for 40 years,
right? Like that's where I'm looking at. If you want to maximize your next franchise in the National Hockey League overall for everything, it's another one in Canada, but it's also the biggest market, which could then split up easily. They can have two teams.
Yeah.
In the U.S., I don't know enough about Salt Lake whether that's going to work.
No, I'm gonna.
You don't think so?
I'm gonna
right?
mimic Titch from like a minute
Is
ago.
that from
no,
is that a
no?
travel
I don't like the
reason?
city.
Is
No,
that-
it's a crappy. It's a boring city.
It
to
is.
go to right, but would they care about hockey? Like if you're from an
Maybe.
NHL perspective, would they care about and sell out a rink and watch?
I'd
I
put
don't know.
Houston, Kansas City.
Here's the problem I have with
of-
Houston is there's just so much there that they're going to care. I don't think
I don't
they will.
know.
They already have the Rockets. The Rockets are already on an upward trend already. They have the Astros. They have the Texans. I don't know if colleges are right nearby, but there's going to be colleges right nearby. Why would they care about a hockey team?
Yeah, I don't want to see any expansion anyway. Like I think
Yeah.
I
it's
agree.
it's almost a little bit. It's not quite watered down, but you keep
Going to
there's
36 that they want to?
There's
Like,
no
Yeah.
need for that.
No.
I'd back it up to 30. Like I don't.
It does feel like moving Arizona to Salt Lake is the perfect scenario, right? Like you had that with Atlanta going to Winnipeg, like where it's plug and play. Like
Yeah.
you can show up and on the first day you will have 13,000 season tickets
Yeah.
sold, right? Like which is what you need. Like if I'm a member of the NHLPA, I'm like do not pass go, do not collect $200. Like let's go tomorrow. Like there's no reason for us to even finish the season in Arizona. Let's get the move going.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Arizona's just such a great place to go.
Yeah, it's a great
is.
road trip city. I was always like, no, stay in Arizona, man.
And he's got his golf.
yeah.
You want that one to stay for
Yeah.
travel purposes, all that. Like
Absolutely.
that's,
Listen, I get why anyone
Come on,
plays
Arizona,
for-
get into that hockey
Let's
team.
go figure it out.
If I'm part of the Shane Doan clan, I understand why you're doing, pulling every knob you can to get them to
Yes.
stay.
That's
But if I'm one of the other guys playing on one of the other 29, 30, 31 teams, I'm sitting there furious.
Yeah.
Every time I look at my paycheck and see how much they hold back, well, like just do the math. They're holding it back because of Arizona.
Yeah.
No other reason. Like just because of Arizona. Every other team, every other player in the NHL pays an Arizona tax.
Yeah. Do you remember that Brad Marchand tweet after Arizona sent out something funny about Boston? They won a game against the Bruins or something like that, and Marchand just comes back. You're the reason we're paying escrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and more players need to be listening to Brad Marchand,
Yeah.
because it's the absolute truth.
Fair point.
I mean, we just talked about it took forever for an owner in Edmonton to realize just the amount of money you can make off of this team. Like, I don't know why it's taking so long for the players to realize just how much that team is costing and has cost them. Like a flat cap, all of that. You can trace it all back to the fact that you have a team that couldn't find an arena and has to play in front of 5,000 fans tops. No TV contract,
5,000.
there is nothing being generated out of that town.
Yeah.
Like,
I love the argument they try to make and say, well, actually, they're bringing in more money now playing out of Mullet Arena than they did at Gila River.
They are bringing in more money.
because their lease is less.
At least it's less. Also, ticket prices could be priced higher.
But they're not
And
even selling these games out anymore, Matty.
Right, but the reality is that they are actually. That's how bad it is. That this is actually making more money than what it was before, because they're
One of
selling,
our good
they're
shows-
selling less tickets, but they're kind of able to sell those tickets for a much higher price,
Yeah.
a much premium price, and they actually that's again just goes how bad it was at Gila Arena.
Yeah.
That tickets were so cheap, but people weren't buying them still. That when they go here, they're making more. It's not still. It doesn't mean it's a good thing.
No.
But it's just for them. They've actually found a way to actually find a way to make a little bit more money than had it been before.
And it's also it's not being honest when we say make more money. They're losing slightly less. That's what
Sure.
they're doing. Like,
well,
they're
the
not,
revenue is more. Then.
Yeah, like they're not making more money. They're just spending less. Like that's all that's happening in their current situation.
Salt Lake is boring. That's all I'm going to say.
Sure, it is.
Yeah, so from a fan perspective,
Yeah.
you wouldn't plan a trip around going to Salt Lake.
No.
But would the NHL look at them and be like, hey, we'll have 13,000 season tickets immediately sold.
Yes.
They'll watch us. They'll come support us. That's the market to go to.
I think they need a new arena, but they have one that they can kind of retrofit.
Well, the owner of the Jazz wants to build a new arena, but he wants to build it it's for both.
Yeah.
I covered. What was the Edmonton's AHL team played a game?
Roadrunners.
Yeah. Went on one of their road trips and ended up in Salt Lake, and I was just like, oof.
This is great. This is wonderful.
Putting it nicely.
This is wonderful.
Yeah.
I ordered a drink at the bar, and the lady, she says, I can't pass it to you over this way. I have to go around and bring it to you like
Yes.
this. And I go, what's that all about? And something, it can't be a bar. It has to be, I'm not sure what the deal was. But
And Well, there's many. So like on golf trips, we always take the I-15 down through Salt Lake towards Phoenix and Vegas, and we'd always stop. That was our halfway point in Salt Lake, so we would do a night there. And I'm at like a Chili's, and my dad, my uncle, my brother, and I were like, "Well, it's been a long drive. We want a big bite to eat and a beer." And the lady's like, "I can serve you a beer, but I got to go back behind the kitchen to get it." And we're like, "Okay, like we'll have 4 beers." And then we're down to like just another sip left. And she's like, and we're like, "Can we get another beer?" And she's like, "You guys have to finish those before I can even put another one in for you." So very like restrictive that way. Yeah. It's a sleepy city. It's big. Obviously, there's a lot there, but there's not a lot of vibe, if you will.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to go underground.
I don't think Utah Jazz are the place that people want to go visit when they're planning NBA schedules. Where are the Raps going on the road? Oh, they're going to Utah. Let's go check out them and the Jazz.
It reminds me of a story my buddy Alan Poole told me. He was working at a tire craft here in Edmonton, or maybe it was a Fountain Tire. It doesn't matter. One of those brands. And they offered him to be a manager. And he was like, "Well, sure. I'd be interested in managing one of these locations." They're like, "Great. We have an opening in Oyen, Alberta. You can go and work at the Fountain Tire in Oyen, Alberta." And he's like, "Okay, I don't even know where that is." And so they pull out a map and show him on a map, and he's like, I don't know, like, this a big change.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Tell you what, we'll rent you a car. You can drive down there. We'll put you up for a night. You can see if this is something that you'd be interested in." And so he said he drove to Oyen, Alberta, went to the hotel, checked in, went down to the hotel bar and sat down and ordered a drink, and they brought him a beer. And so he got talking with, he didn't even get talking. He's talking with the bartender, and the bartender is like, "What brings you to town?" And he tells him like, "Well, I'm checking out the Fountain Tire." And of course the bartender's like, "Oh yeah, no, they haven't had a manager there for 3 months. They're like, completely up to date." And so he's like, "Okay." And he like looks at the bartender, and he's like, "So I've never been to Oyen, like, what's there to do in town?" And the bartender goes silent and looks at him and goes, "You're doing it." My buddy Alan pays his bill, goes up to his room, grabs his suitcase, gets back into the car, and drives home that evening. Did not become the manager of the Fountain Tire in Oyen, but yeah.
They were looking for another one still.
Yeah, like when you're describing Salt Lake City, I'm like, yeah, I know what that looks like.
That reminds me of that story.
So what's there to do in town? You're doing it. Yeah.
I don't know if it's true or not, but there's a story going on around about the Saskatchewan Roughriders years ago. They drafted some guy from like a big school like Auburn or Alabama, right, where they're playing to 70,000 people, and the Roughriders draft him. So he, flies up to Canada and he lands, and he's cabbing through Saskatchewan or Regina, right, and looking around like this, and the cab pulls up to the stadium, and he looks at the stadium, and he tells the cabbie, "Back to the airport." Didn't even get out of the cab.
Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Seen enough. Let's get that flight.
A bit of a culture shock. I mean, I've been to the stadium in Alabama, and it's just like, good grief.
It's a cathedral.
I don't miss a lot about covering the Elks/Eskimos, but I do miss the first signs of winter and just how much the veterans would screw with the rookies.
Yeah.
And I still remember the year where like it's the first day of parkas and puffy jackets, right? And they and it's the easiest sort of like, it's the middle of a practice week or whatever. Yeah. And so you got to talk about something. And so it's like, "So how are you adjusting to your first winter ever?" And I still remember the one guy in like that George Costanza puffy jacket, like standing there in the dressing room, still shivering. And we're like, "So how are you adjusting to the weather?" He goes, the weather is actually not that bad. Like, I got guys that have shown me like the layers that you put on, and they were right. Like, if you get your layering right, you're going to be completely fine out on the practice field and what have you. And he goes, I gotta admit though, I am concerned about when the polar bears show up.
Yeah. They would do the polar bear gag.
And luckily enough, I was with, maybe it was John Sexsmith or somebody, but somebody who knew that this was coming, and so none of us broke. And so we just followed it up. Like, we're like, "So what have you heard about the polar bears?" And he goes, he's like, "Well, I've heard that for the most part, they're not dangerous. But if they corner you in one of the downtown alleys,
If you make eye contact,
if you get cornered by them, that's when it can become really dangerous. And once again, no one breaks, and we're like, in the downtown? And they're like, yeah, they told us about how they'll like just kind of come in en masse and just start to mill around any of the dumpsters and stuff in the downtown area. And I'm just like, this is the greatest ongoing bit that the veterans continue to play on these poor kids. Like,
they would do that. They would get a couple of guys in on it, and they would say, "What's the polar bear report?"
Yeah.
And they would check the temperature, right? And like, we're okay for today, but tomorrow, like, make sure you're in by about 5 or 6 o'clock, because they'll start coming down from the north when it gets a little colder, because they don't like the cold, so they'll come into the city. And these guys are like, "Wow, Jesus, okay, thanks, man.
thanks, man. Yeah, thanks for the heads up. Yeah,
Thanks for looking out for us. This is the EST Hangout presented by White Claw. We got lemon, watermelon, raspberry, tangerine, or ruby grapefruit if you'd like one.
they all sound
Lemon,
delicious.
watermelon, raspberry, tangerine, and ruby grapefruit.
Raspberry.
Raspberry? That's what I'm having.
You
Good
putting
one.
the order in? Do you want me to go grab it?
You could go grab it. I'm going to do the keyword right now.
do the
The
keyword.
EST flyaway keyword is we're giving away a trip to Las Vegas, 2 nonstop flights, 3 nights accommodations, 2 tickets to Cirque, presented by FlyYEG, the Edmonton International Airport. Nonstop flights to over 50 destinations. Your sports trip starts with a nonstop flight from FlyYEG. Visit flyYEG.com for more information. Also presented by our partners in Las Vegas, the LVCVA. The keyword for today to text to 780-218-9999. That's 780-218-9999. It is boxing. Boxing to 780-218-9999. BOXING. Text it right now. You got about 5 minutes. Zachem will give someone a call. If you are the lucky qualifier for today on the Hangout, I'm good. Yeah, I'm still drinking this one. But thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
If you're the qualifier, we'll talk to you on the show, and then we'll qualify until April 25th. April 26th on the morning show, we'll do the grand prize draw. If you are the winner, you will have 2 months to book, but 12 months to travel. So a fun little trip. EST keyword, EST flyway keyword, boxing, 780-218-9999.
So when do we take calls here on Pawnee today?
I'd take it.
On Barney today. Oh, God.
Do you take your tab off?
Always, yeah. And
Why?
you dent the little thing here like this. Gives you a grip, and it prevents splash.
What do you think? He's a child?
What I appreciate is he threw the tab on the ground.
I tried to get the coffee table.
What
It
does
is
the
so
tab
far
do?
away.
What does the tab do?
It
Taking
gets
this
it out of the way.
Hits you in the face.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Fair enough.
And then you
Okay.
can tell which is yours in a crowded situation. Like, okay, I got the grip
I got the
there.
mangled one. Yeah.
See? But anyway, speaking of jokes and flying on the plane, I'll tell you a quick one I did on Rod Phillips. He's a terrible flyer,
Yes.
right? Really bad flyer. And by extension, I became a bad flyer. But I sat next to him on the Oilers charter for a number of years, right? So I figured I'll get him this time. So I get on the plane. I'm sitting next to him and he goes, "Geez, Rod, I just had a bad dream about this flight. Like things were like, it was really bad. And like, it didn't end well. I don't want to get into it, but it was bad, right? And there was all like, for some reason, there was all like tomato juice was reoccurring in this dream. And I don't know if that means blood or what the hell that was, but it was just really freaked me out. And Rod just like, don't talk like that. Little did he know I went to the flight attendant and told her to ask if we wanted tomato juice.
Oh, you.
So she comes down the aisle. Would you guys like some tomato juice? We have some tomato juice today. And I look at Rod like this. He almost gets off the plane, right? I had to talk him off the ledge. Like, no, I was just joking with you, Rod. But he still was worried. Like, couldn't.
Oh man.
That's so cruel.
Yeah, it wasn't
But that's
funny.
so amazing, though.
That is awful, Tish.
Oilers don't land in their next destination because Rod Phillips won't get on the plane.
Running up and down the aisles, throwing tomato juice out the window.
Gene doesn't fly well either.
No.
Yeah, he's a bad flyer.
Really?
Yeah.
He's got a little nervous energy to him. I
Yeah.
guess that doesn't surprise me that much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great man.
Yeah.
I love that charter. I miss it.
That was pretty sweet, yeah.
That's the only thing about that job I miss.
You go to your seat and it's a recliner, like it's nothing but first class seats, 2 on each
Yeah.
side of the aisle. Your wine's sitting there waiting for you, and you're just like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Team lost and they're all dead quiet, but I had my guy.
I wrote my article.
I didn't lose tonight.
Mine got in on deadline.
That was the bus is waiting, and you're the last guy on because you're filing your story, right? And you walk on, and like everybody on the bus knows you just finished crapping all over.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And they're waiting for you, right?
Yeah, you smell like horse manure. Yeah.
Reading your story on the phone. We waited for this jackass.
Yeah. Email coming from Sweden already.
Yeah. That was one game where they were down by 3 goals or something, and I was just spent, the entire last half of the game just crucifying them, ripping them, carving them, and next thing you know, it's a 3-goal comeback and the Oilers win, and I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I scramble to turn this thing around, and I'm pulling my hair out, and I'm walking back to the bus like in a panic, and Mac T's just walking out with me, and he goes, must have been a tough turnaround, hey? And I go, yeah, I just phoned the office, and I said, everywhere it says horse shit, change it to inspired. And he's the one coach you could say that to, and he would laugh, right? Like
There's never been a better quote.
He was
as a head coach.
great.
There's never been a better quote.
Yeah.
Like I think he was an above average coach. Like I think he did great with what he was given.
He needed another shot as a head coach in the National Hockey League somewhere else.
But he also he bought so much patience from us in the media just from being the best human being that you could encounter. I still remember him stopping an entire scrum because a cameraman had donked Joan in the back of the head, and like he shut it down and got that guy to behave properly. Like he was a gentleman and like quick with a quote. Speaking of like, I'm sure I've told this before, but in the Pat Quinn year,
that was great.
Oh, that was weird.
I was doing an 11 till 1 in the morning show, or maybe it was 9 till, I can't, it was late. Anyways. Yeah, it was 9 till 12. And I went down to practice, and I was the first one there. And JJ Hebert pulls me aside, and he goes, listen, like, I know it's not been good, but like, I just keep hearing reports, and I've listened to your show. Like, do you think you could go just a little bit easier on what's going on here? And I looked at JJ and I said, the moment I say something that your head coach hasn't already said about this team, you tell me.
Yeah.
And he looks at me and goes, yeah, that's fair. Walks away. I still remember showing up at a practice, and Pat Quinn is on a stool in the old Rexall, like in the middle of the hallway, and he's got his skates on but untied. And you just, a guy that age and that size, you know the effort it would take to do up your skates. And he's just sitting there staring at him like, why? Why am I even about to do this? Like, just the most defeated poor man you've ever seen.
But he would not go like 5 feet from the edge of the bench.
Yeah.
He wasn't really skating out there. He'd be holding on the whole time. And then everybody, he didn't go to them. He brought everybody in.
Yeah.
He barely skated.
Yeah. That was a big man.
Yeah, he was a big dude. You'd be like, so Pat, like tough second period, and what happened there? And then he would talk for 15 minutes about 1964. And you're like, oh yeah, can't use any of that. Thank you.
Very relevant about today's game.
Yeah. But when like the Calgary, the Surrey Ginla stuff happened, that was actually
that was good stuff.
Yeah.
He was giving good quotes.
Oh yeah.
Dirt with dirt. That was you fight dirt with dirt, right? Yeah. I was in the room. I'm like, that's an old saying. I know it, but that sounds great.
Yeah.
Like, that's wild.
It's a great quote. Yeah.
We have our qualifier, I believe, for the EST. A flyaway for our giveaway today. Zach. Oh,
did you hang up on them?
No, I did not hang up. No.
Oh, he did something though.
It's connected. I think we're good. We're good.
What's his name? Who's our qualifier for today? Corey B.
Hey, all right.
Corey B. Congratulations. You are the qualifier. How you doing today, Corey?
Oh, better now.
Awesome. How was your trip to Jamaica?
Oh, it was pretty good. We just got back Saturday. It was nice and warm. Awesome trip.
Excellent. And who would you take with you if you won this trip to Vegas? Is it the wife still?
Oh, I'd take my wife for sure.
Well, good for you. And, well, congratulations. It's good hearing from you. We still got to work on that tattoo.
He wants to get an EST tattoo. That's
we still got to be working on that. But, Corey, congratulations. You're in the draw. Keep your phone on April 26th when we do the grand prize draw.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, guys.
There's Corey B., our qualifier for today.
Good dude.
Got back from Jamaica on Saturday. He was there for a while.
Yeah, because he's 21 days off.
Yeah.
So him and the fam.
So him and his wife came back. And,
Hardcore EST.
And the tattoo. That's something.
Speaking of post-game quotes, the happiest I've ever seen Matthew Iwanyk was we would get in the Oilers room and we'd let him string. This was early in his days. We'd let him string and do the away. And the day that
Tortorella?
the day that John Tortorella showed up, and who was he coaching then?
It was Rangers. They lost
the Rangers.
1-0 to the Rangers on Saturday night.
Yeah,
and I knew it was going to be a good one too.
And he, like, you can see him in there, and Tortorella drops tonight we sucked from head to toe.
We sucked from head to toe. I don't want to talk about it. I know you guys have to do your job.
And then he walked away.
But he had to walk by me.
Yeah, and he walked
has
by
to
you,
come
and
out and walk by.
you're in the shot, and you've just got the happiest wide-eyed look, like knowing that you've just experienced history. Like,
So they don't show it anymore because when the top 10s that John Tortorella does, that one always comes up. And there's one video that MSG has though of it that used to have like the clear shot of me.
Yeah, you're
like,
right
as
in the
Tortorella
line, yeah.
comes my way, but then when Tortorella's done right away, like he turns right at me and is walking right at me, and that's where like almost like where do I go? Like Tortorella's coming at me. It dropped to 8. Like Tortorella did something recently in the TSN. The top 10. It dropped to 8. I'm almost knocked out. It's coming out.
But yeah, I remember
He's gonna calm down here. I'm on the top 10
we'd
right
all
away.
meet in that media room down in between the two dressing rooms, and he comes in and he's just got the biggest. He's like, I didn't get a lot, but I got great.
I still have the audio there. That is a piece of audio I've kept because
As one should.
that's a good one.
16 seconds, I think, that press conference
It's
lasted.
very short. It's the same as Spec once gave me the John Brophy one. That was it with Lance Hornby, or I can't remember who it was in Toronto, where he swears all over the place. And we wanted to air it on Spec show. I had to go through and catch everyone. There was like 64 of them.
Nice.
And he's just ripping the team. And then it's who's the old Cubs manager?
Lou Piniella?
No, Elia or something.
Rizzo.
Not Lee Elia. Is it Lee Elia? He had a big thing where he went after Cubs fans years ago.
Yeah.
We played that one too.
Yeah.
Those are historic rants. But yeah, no, Torts, that was a good night.
Well, and my other favorite night was I was doing the evening show, and all of a sudden we get a call out of the blue, and it's Ryan Rashog. and Ryan didn't work for us or whatever, and he's like, listen, I know I shouldn't do this, but the post game is really good tonight. Like, you're gonna want this, and it was the one when Craig McTavish he's just sick of it. He's sick of everything. And so I think it was Rashog just started with you struggled with fill in the blank.
I was at that one, in the hallway.
And McTavish just starts berating him and is like, you never ask about anything positive. Like, why don't you it amazes me. Like, it always starts with the negative with you guys. It's exhausting every night. It's nothing but negative questions. Like, why don't you ever ask me just what I thought about the game? And Rashog without a pause. So what'd you think about the game tonight, Craig? And just
And Craig didn't like that.
Craig just dies. You saw his spirit leave his body on that. And it was just holy cow, this is the
Poor
greatest
Mac T.
moment ever.
Mac T will be on the Hangout in the next couple of weeks.
Will he?
When he returns
Oh
from
my
Palm
God.
He
Springs.
keeps wanting to come. Well, that'll be a fun one.
He's my workout buddy now.
Is he?
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Where at?
Downtown.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just the nicest
Yeah.
human being you could ever meet.
Great dude.
That interview was going sideways right out of the gate.
right out of the
You could
hop,
tell. He said
yeah.
a slow start, Craig, and he's like, you're talking about the first 5 minutes of a 60-minute game?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay. And then he goes in, and the power play wasn't that good either. And then that's it. That's how the mandate became a thing,
Is that the
right?
mandate?
Is
That's
that your
right.
mandate to come out here and ask all these terrible questions? And we're like, okay, we're not getting much air, right? And normally it helped. I was frozen. I had nothing.
You went deer in headlights, and Rashog went for the kill.
Because his third one was then, what'd you think about the game? And then that went nowhere. So what am I going to do, right? So we just sat there.
What are you going to have for dinner tonight?
Took a knee.
Question. Let's say about 10 years ago or so, when the writers, when there was more of them, is it true that you used to drop swears in there to kind of piss off
The radio guys. Because they'd just be in your scrums and not ask any questions
Right.
and put a tape recorder in your thing.
As you should have, man.
And they, they're never gonna. If things are going well, everybody's shaking hands and slapping ass. But if they're on a 5-game losing streak, here, Rob, you get this one, right? So they'd stick their stuff. So I just, a shitty game for you guys, right? And tough outcome. And then when they'd start talking, I would talk over their answers. Yeah, no, I get that. I know you're right. And just ruin their tape as just a little joke. Not so much anymore because the radio guys are a lot better.
There's also no one.
No, Gregor's there. He asks stuff. And
absolutely. Yeah.
And Reed Wilkins, he'll ask questions as well.
That was Reed's birthday yesterday.
Hey, Reed. Happy birthday, Reed. Right?
Corey Graham's birthday yesterday.
Nice. And CG.
Portions of this hour of the EST Hangout brought to you by the Ranch Golf and Country Club, offering premier conditions, top-notch service, unmatched value. They're the top choice for your first round of the season, which is going to be coming really, really soon. I know a couple courses have been opening today.
Yeah.
So the Ranch won't be far off here. I'm waiting. I'm looking at their
Well, their
Twitter
drainage
account.
is some of the better. So, yeah, you're right.
They're always right up there. And I remember having Murray on a couple weeks ago, and he said that they just need a couple of really nice days.
They've
and
got
it's
sand
open.
under just about all their
So
fairways, so they drain quick.
based on the forecast,
Do I use the
speed sticks to get your club head speed faster?
No. I just I have a pretty good chipping setup. If we gotta go from one bedroom to the far bedroom, there's like about 60 feet there. So you can put a little chipping cup there, and you can just do your pitches. About this time of year, you start getting the short game upstairs.
See?
you gotta get that going.
Yes,
That's where the strokes are lost.
He's working with 60 feet. I love it.
Oh, my goodness.
That chipping game.
Yeah, the
Get it
short
nice
game.
and tight to the pin.
and
then
it
nice
makes
little
a
tap in
difference,
for the
man.
putt.
Yeah. Oh,
Nice
yeah.
tap in.
You get up and down all the time, and then you can also putt. Carpet's a little slow but
It is how you get a handicap that isn't the most embarrassing thing in the world. You're right.
got to work at it.
Yeah. That it's a real number. Like that's how you actually have a handicap is by working on the short game.
Yes.
Like anyone who doesn't, they're
Yeah,
just
it's not
kind of
the
like,
drive.
yeah, no, I was on in 3. Like that's what they are. No, but what'd you shoot on that hole? Well, I was on in 3. And
And then I 3-jacked it.
from
8
mark
feet.
it a 7.
To me, it's like inside 50. It's that chip onto the green. You want to put it nice and close to the pin. You don't want to be on the other side of the green because then it's going to be long putts, and it's the putting.
Yeah.
Get it nice and close, or be able to finish them off, and that's where you're like, it'd be nice to drive the ball 350 yards, but going
you don't have
250,
to,
275, it could still work as long as you can.
And usually the
That
guy
1
that
foot
says
putt is the exact same amount of strokes as the 300 yards drive.
Usually the guy that says mark it a 7 picked up with 2 feet. Like, that's a gimme.
Take a slow.
Yeah, if you're inside 100 yards, you should be just on and 2-putt. At the worst, right?
Should is the key.
Yeah.
Sure.
You get
Yeah.
so frustrated, right? Like you're just like, there's no trouble there, and I ended up yanking it into that trap.
Mm-hmm. It's the worst sport, but it's
Yeah.
so wonderful
It
all at the exact same time.
Get that
And now it's
first
here.
beer on the 19th hole. Oh, it's so good.
Did you say your first beer on the 19th hole?
The first beer, you get that first beer on the 19th hole after many
Maddie, I
beers
thought
on
you
the
were going to
course.
come for trail runs with me this summer.
I'd do one day.
Yeah? Oh, that'd be great.
I do like a good run.
Yeah?
Like, how long are we talking?
About an hour.
No, distance.
Oh, I don't know.
You lost me
10K?
lost me
Yeah.
an hour. But
Yeah.
10Ks, I get bored on 10Ks.
No, there's plenty of hills. Yeah.
Not that part, like mentally.
No.
I'm just done.
You'll stay
Like, I'm-
engaged because your heart's about to explode. It's hard not
That
to.
sounds great. I could go with my heart about to explode, or I could be on a golf course drinking
Yeah. Well, we still have beer. We can still have beer afterwards.
afterwards, but I could do it while golfing. That's why I
trust
was
me.
confused by the
You're
19th hole.
you're free to drink as much alcohol on a trail run as you want. It's just whether you can keep it down.
yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw the news that kind of started percolating a little bit yesterday. There's a report that Rogers and Amazon are in discussions to bring Monday Night NHL to Amazon Prime.
By the way, called it.
So it begins.
Called it. Last time I was in here, this is the idea that it's about a ESPN or a TNT. And,
This is Canada.
Or,
too,
or,
right? Like, just
or
want
a
to make sure this is
CBC
Canada.
or a TS. The idea that it's about a cable or an over-the-air network deal is that is the past. Like, it is going to be the Apple TVs, the Primes, what's the biggest fight in boxing that's coming up?
The stupid Logan Paul.
Yeah,
If it's a fight.
And where is it going to be on?
Netflix, and for free with like part of your
with the
Netflix package
subscription.
I don't like. There are different ways where, like, I can't remember how the WWE is. WWE just with Amazon or with Netflix, or is it?
I don't know.
An additional fee. I'd have to go read into that.
That's going to be on Netflix. The Tyson.
It's going to be on like the
Just if you have the subscription
the
to Netflix, you can
Amazon
watch
Prime is the perfect vehicle for an NHL, like more than just about anybody else, because an Amazon already knows your purchase history, already knows the other stuff that you'll like to spend on, and
they know things about you don't even know yet.
And they would look at a hockey consumer, which, let's face it, is of a higher income bracket than some other sports are, and go, yeah, no, we'll throw you targeted ads that we already know you need to buy yourself a new spatula or whatever. Like, I mean, you look at the way that they target ads on their Thursday Night Football, like, not everyone's seeing the same thing, right? Like, they start targeting individual audiences. It's the individualization of the audience. That is the next wave for sports.
I mentioned to my parents on Sunday that my coffee machine is starting to go and I need a Keurig. How much is your Keurig? All of a sudden, I'm seeing Keurig ads when I'm cruising the internet.
Do you have Siri activated on your phone?
Always.
No, see, they never have.
Yeah, like,
I don't activate my TV remote control. I don't activate Siri. I don't have any of that stuff.
Scary.
Yeah, they're for sure listening to every.
Well, it's about like there are people who love it. There are people who love the fact that they don't have to go and search for what they want. It's already curated for them, right? So, I mean, that's going to be the future. Like, I have no doubt that this will happen in some form in the next 5 years, and it will only grow from there. Like, if you're the Oilers as for your individual rights, like, that's how you make your next billion.
Oilers Plus?
Is by figuring out, so how do we turn these people who we know exactly who they are, we know how much household income they have, we know where they like to go on vacation, how do we maximize that value?
So pay-per-view games, or you just have to put it on a subscription channel,
or not pay-per-view, but you're already subscribed. You're subscribing to
What'd be Oilers Plus?
Free 2-day shipping or whatever, right? Like it's about the information they can get out of you, right? Like, I'm always I do the grocery shopping in my house, and I'm always getting into arguments, not big ones, with my wife about, like, her purchasing, because I'm always like, you didn't pay full price for that, did you? Well, now they know you'll pay for full price. You can't do that. You have to buy it when it's on sale for at least $2 off, so that they know they have to put it on sale for me to purchase it. Like, why do you think I scan things at the checkout? That way they know what I'm willing and not willing to spend. Like, these are.
That is true.
This is the future. Like this. Well, this is the present that we live in, right? Like, they know way more about you than you are comfortable with.
I will be intrigued to see how many Canadians are ready to just buy a Monday night package to watch Toronto take on Florida. Yeah, like, when it's non-Oilers.
Yeah, but they won't buy it'll be included with their Prime subscription. Because that's what Thursday Night Football is.
So how does the league make money off that if people are already subscribing?
How does the league? Because
Amazon paid for it.
Because Amazon pays for it.
What's Amazon get out of it? Like,
they get access to.
I guess it's the data
that
mining.
audience,
it's
right?
that data. I never thought of the data mining part of that. For Amazon, that's data mining.
But then those companies have to pay Amazon to advertise, and then the types of ads that you see are targeted to your purchase history.
It's not just that. It's also then it's a way to keep them as Amazon subscribers. So if somebody's got Amazon, they're like, okay, I don't need Prime anymore. I'm not ordering enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Now it's like, well, you want to know something? I get hockey on Mondays. I'll keep this for whatever the price is a month, and I don't know, I might order something here or there. I get my free shipping, and I get my hockey now. So yeah, I'm going to keep this. It's a way to, I guess, retain that customer for data mining.
And we know this from working in radio. It's not just about knowing that someone is an Oilers fan. Like, the real value is knowing in that guy spends on average 65 hours a month watching Oilers, or that fan spends 40 like that sort of like, and he is far more likely at this buy-in rate to buy a jersey at this point, this like,
right,
or to buy his, Connor McDavid spoon or whatever it is. Like, it's that sort of data mining that if you're an Amazon, like the sport fan is a fertile market for you, right? Like the fact
evergreen, man.
Like the fact that you have to go onto your computer and go onto whatever to order your jersey. If you're Amazon, you're like, well, that's ridiculous. You should just do it with your TV remote and buy it from Amazon while you're watching the game, right? Like there's a lot of ads right now. I don't know if you've noticed it that have the barcode, like the QR code that you just scan with your phone. Well, Amazon wants you to even skip that. You don't even pull your phone out anymore. You literally use your Amazon remote to just go online right then and there. Yeah, it's right?
ridiculously convenient, though.
Right. It works, right? Like we feel like it's nefarious, and it is, because they're trying to make a buck off of you, but they're trying to make a buck off of you by making it as painless as possible. Like there is a convenience that's being given to you.
Yeah. Mark texts in Paris Jewelers inbox 780-218-9999. Mark says, now you can't watch any game on TSN or Sportsnet if it's not Oilers because they black it out. Streaming service will resolve these issues.
No, because this isn't what the Rogers deal would be. It depends on those deals. There'd still be regional deals.
Right.
And the reason you can't watch games on TSN is because it's a regional broadcast.
You're talking
Rogers,
about
this is a national broadcast deal. So
this is your national
these
Wednesday
are the games,
night,
Monday nights that are available to anyone that has a Sportsnet package.
Right.
You can watch it on Sportsnet nationally. They're not blacked out.
The regional package still is its
that
own
would
thing.
still be its own thing unless they go the MLS model, which is every game's on Apple TV. Every game. Around the entire world, you can watch any MLS game with Apple TV. And you get rid of regional broadcasts in that way, and you just go with massive.
And their Friday night baseball doubleheader as well that Apple TV has.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's exclusive only Apple TV and stuff. So this doesn't impact the regional rights. There would still be X amount of Oiler games that are considered regional broadcasts,
right?
Which are only available in the Edmonton region, which is Alberta and Saskatchewan, I believe. I believe it's the two provinces. And they share with Calgary.
And they lump
if you're
Calgary
in Vancouver,
in there.
you can't watch these games because they're regionally. This type of packaging, these packages that the NHL deals with are the national rights, which you generally get anyways.
They'll geo-lock them through your IP.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, basically, because it's streaming, right?
Well, but Prime wouldn't do that because it'd be a national deal.
Right, but we're talking about the regional.
Like if the Oilers all of a sudden announced that we are going to do a regional deal, we're not going to stick with Sportsnet, we're not going to put it on Oilers Plus, we're going to do it with Amazon Prime. Then they could put it on there, but it would be potentially geo-blocked.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Unless the NHL would allow that, no, it's got to come off. So, but this is like, because Rogers only has 2 more years left on their deal. The fact that they're subletting it too, they're not going for the whole package in 2 years.
Right.
So the way we consume hockey is going to be very different in 2 more seasons.
Well, thankfully, they've learned from the NBA and the NFL that you don't lock in with a single broadcaster because then you don't have them bidding against each other, right? Like that,
and you lose the control to a degree.
Right.
Even.
Like that's the
NFL's model, is that they control everyone.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, you said something bad about us.
That's a shame.
We'll remember that the next regional or television rights deal that comes up.
You're absolutely right. Like the NFL plays all the networks against each other, only maximizing their own profits. They never get locked in for more than, a 4-year deal at the most? Usually it's a 3 to a 2-year sort of, where, you know what, we'll come back in 2 years and we'll tell you if we like the job that you did.
There's only one place that does it better than the NFL, and that's the Masters.
Yeah.
Augusta does 1-year deals with CBS. And CBS will not do anything to risk not getting that contract again.
Right.
And that's why when there was all the big... It reached its peak when it comes to women and not being members of Augusta years ago and stuff. They always didn't talk about it. Right. Because they knew if they talked about it, they'd go, oh, we'll find a new broadcast partner next year. Don't worry about that. And I think that they have very few commercials because they don't need it. And
Titch covered the Masters.
It's also one of those things where you're like, it's Augusta. They don't need the money.
No,
right?
No, like, you go to Augusta and you go to Rogers, you get a beer. It's $13.50.
Yeah.
You go to Augusta, you get a hard plastic souvenir Masters cup full of beer for like $3.50.
Well, yeah, haven't they they've kept the same price for like sandwiches
there's
and
no
beverages for the
advertising.
last 30 years or something like
You
that?
get a bag of chips. It says Augusta National Masters chips.
Yeah.
There's no like Old Dutch or any of that sort.
They get you the merch.
Well, when your
Because you can't buy the merch anywhere
membership
else.
No, you
list,
can't get it online. You have to get it at the.
when your membership list is all billionaires,
Yes.
like
So-
you're not there for the money,
No,
right?
no.
Like,
Sandwiches are either $1.50 or $3. Breakfast is $2 for a couple of things, $3 for a sandwich, $1.50 for a muffin, $2 for fruit. Your drinks, soft drinks bottle is only $2. So is iced tea. If you want the alcohol, there's Crow's Nest, which I'm assuming is their alcohol. It's $5. $5 for domestic, $5 for import, $6 for white wine. And then snacks are $1.50 or $2 or $2.50 for an ice cream sandwich.
well, it's kind of like it's the wedding reception thing where it's like we're doing a toonie bar just so that people
Don't waste it.
abuse it.
Yeah.
like I'm sure that's what Augusta is. Like we charge you so that you're not absolutely hammered by 30 minutes in.
Yeah,
right?
no,
Like,
that, yeah.
I see, and I brought it up yesterday. I think it's a little bit of the other way where they charge it so low because they don't need your money.
Right.
It's like your money's not good enough.
Right, but the fact that
Like-
they charge anything,
But
is
they could
just,
charge
just
higher.
to apply a little bit of a brake pressure to what could be a runaway.
So they don't turn away management. But it's also like your money's kind of not good enough for us.
They run a pretty tight
You know?
ship. There's that one old tree where they do all the interviews by, and it's a really old one. And it's like if you look closely, there's some wires that are suspending it because it's collapsing under
It
its own
should
weight.
have died a
So
decade
So I'm
ago.
just
Yeah.
leaning like this, waiting for somebody to come out for an interview, right? And so the gentleman comes, taps him. Excuse me, sir. Please don't touch the tree.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, we're sorry about that.
Yeah, you'll disappear before this tree does.
But yeah, their TV deal is way better for anything. It's just 1 year deals.
Yeah.
And it's not like no one actually fully knows the details of it because it's so hidden and
Right.
because they can get away with it. And CBS is too scared to mess with that they won't.
Why? Why would you? Right?
Yeah.
It's a weekend.
Well, next weekend's going to be the best
Right,
week.
like-
It's guaranteed. So it's like the NFL. It's like we should wait, and the NFL might not be hot in 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going anywhere. It's they control the shots because of the product, and that's that.
And Scheffler's in a good spot to go win it, I think.
Yeah, I love that event.
The more it becomes locked down, though, the more it does give you an avenue if you are a sport that is trying to grow yourself, right? In that, for everyone who gets shut out of a deal, they're looking for something else. And so if you can, like, if you're a soccer or, I mean, take your pick, like a Rounders out of Ireland or Australian rules football, there's avenues for you to grow your business because the big ones have sucked up all the oxygen out of the room. The people are desperate to try and get some sort of sports property. So, yeah. Sports is,
UFC did an amazing job getting itself from stuff that wasn't even legal in
Right.
most of the states to a billion-dollar empire now. And they just started by giving it away free.
yeah.
Get people hooked, and then
Then they bought the WWE.
there's tons of money. Like the guy who
Well,
sold.
I mean, Saudi oil money bought all of them is what it is, right? Like
Yeah, they bought UFC, then they bought WWE.
It's greenwashing is what it is, right? Like, so it is a foreign government that has realized that this is a way to be able to have some sort of control over the culture, right? So, I mean, John Cena and others have had to make some pretty big apologies because of some pretty mild thoughts on the way the world is. So you're right. Businesses have grown, but there's also a lot of influence out there that they kind of go, well, these are low information people that are easy to influence. Let's let's maybe purchase the one thing that they'll show up and tune in for and listen to.
That is a very nice way of putting it.
Wait till they get into the NFL and buy their first franchise in the NFL.
Wow, but that's you just mentioned it with Augusta. That's the NFL isn't desperate for anyone's
No,
money.
they can say no.
No, but at one point, they also want to raise their franchise values. And there'll be a day the NFL accepts a
Yeah.
Saudi owner.
I
There'll be a day.
actually don't think that. I think the NFL. I mean, you look at the Dallas Cowboys, for example. That's not a man who owns other businesses. His business is the Dallas Cowboys. Like, you make so much, like a lot of other sports, NHL definitely included, but even throw the NBA and Premier League soccer into this, they're kind of brought in as like these group buys. Like, we're going to own all these different things and try to laterally integrate our marketing and all of that sort of a thing. NFL is just its own thing, right? And its own exclusive club. That Jim Balsillie movie, I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I haven't seen
came out.
The Blackberry movie.
Like they have the boardroom scene where he went in and the NHL was like, no, man, like, you're an asshole. Like, pardon the language, but that's literally what they told him. And he flipped out and he's like, how about I just buy the entire league? And like, you're talking to a room full of billionaires who are just kind of like, money's not what drives us at this point, right? Like, ego is. Like, you have to play to our ego at this point.
Totally.
And that's where the ego will come. Will be the Saudis will be like, I'll buy this team for this price. It inflates all your values of this.
Yeah.
Your ego now is you're worth even more, and you're a richer billionaire.
Yeah. I also think it's a good way to get hauled in front of a congressional committee as well in the United States. Like,
Sure, but they'll pay. I guarantee they'll pay close attention to what's happening with the PGA here. And some of those NFL owners are part of now this PGA thing, and what they deal with the Saudis, whatever comes of this, they're part of that.
PGA was a wounded animal.
Sure.
Right? Like they came into a post Tiger Woods PGA and bought it pennies on the dollar, right? Like that's what happened to the PGA.
Well, it's not, but also the NFL owners are buying in with the Saudis.
Oh, sure. Like,
And
it's
so
a good
it's
way
like-
to make money, but
So watch how this fully plays out. See how much Congress does with this, and if it's all good, they'll one of that franchise opens up, and if they can get an extra $1.5 billion or whatever from the Saudis, I wouldn't be shocked if in 15 years we're talking about a Saudi owner of some NFL club.
I guess only time will tell on that. I just think the NFL is just such a league apart because I don't think money is what drives them. I think it's influence. Like, you own an NFL team to own a city, not to own an NFL team, right? You own it to be able to hold at ransom everything else politically in that area, right? Like, if you like, which is why going back to our first statements, why the Green Bay Packers are such an anomaly. Like, and I'm sure drives them all crazy, and they've decided to not let it keep them up at night. Like, I'm sure it's a conscious effort that it drives them crazy that Green Bay exists, but on the other hand, because Green Bay exists, they don't have to talk about it in their own market, right? Like, it's not like there's any other community organizations that are coming together saying, hey, let's just buy the NFL team, because the NFL won't allow that to happen, right?
Washington went up for sale, and there was no community fundraising group.
Right.
Let's all put our money together and keep this team in town.
Yeah.
I think there was a Saudi interested in that one, but it was turned down.
Yeah.
Because they had a couple of other bids. That's about it for the EST Hangout for today. Gents, thanks for coming in.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me.
How's the raspberry?
It's good. Like, not sweet at all. So you can see why people drink these.
And this is the right time of year, especially as the sun starts going.
Yeah. There's plenty more where that came from.
Coming up next here on Edmonton Sports Talk on TuneIn, iHeart Radio, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, as well as a YouTube channel. We got the Lock Shop, your next chance to qualify with a keyword for the EST Flyaway. And then at noon, two guys and a goalie. Gager, Cass, Dusty will recap the Oilers' loss to the Blues yesterday. Look ahead to the Stars game tomorrow night. That's all coming up here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Thanks for tuning into the Hangout, which is presented by White Claw on behalf of Tom, Rob, Will. I'm Matt. Again, thanks for tuning in. Lock Shop starting in just a few minutes right here on Edmonton Sports Talk.
Let's go.
There you go, right in front of the camera.
First-time guest, long-time listener, fan of the original draft commissioner.
Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with here. Joining us today